I mean, in a way, okay, you continue in a position you're sort of used to, but so much has changed around you, right? So many new faces, some people who maybe you've had fights with, maybe there's been a bit of shade in the past, and now suddenly you're working together. What's that like?
Actually, so it's interesting because they were on the other side, and I was joking with the Deputy Minister of Transport because he was in Scopa, and we didn't have battles, but he was saying, this is your time to respond on those issues you're asking me now. So it's good. We initially were apprehensive like anybody else, but when we went to the cabinet, but we were privileged that we had an analysis of the manifestos and also the statement of intent and say, look, there are commonalities on areas where we can agree. So
it's working.
It is working. It should work.
In the presidency, I mean, you're privy to certain things, you watch certain things happen. You're also one of your portfolios, if I remember correctly, is the State Security Agency, and you've been talking about that. And one of the things we've seen is a real rise in cybersecurity attacks. So the National Health Laboratory Service is only the latest victim. They're still having problems. There was the Justice Department not so long ago. We saw Transnet last year with their ports. And around the world, this is a major problem. Very difficult to actually protect these systems. As government, as the State Security Agency, are you able to do much about it?
So we are, like I've said in my budget speech, we are working to make sure we do something about it first. We've started to improve the efforts because CETA also plays a role. But in the gap where CETA still has to sort itself out, we have to step in. We are planning the cyber security bill so that you can have that regulated. We're starting to implement the policy more aggressively. But we are interacting with government departments in terms of advisory and how we come in. Because we come in terms normally when it's reactive, but we want to come in when it's proactive because we have the responsibility for minimum information standards is to make sure that everybody implements those standards, the backups are up to scratch, and the whole infrastructure and the network infrastructure in particular is up to scratch, but also the skills that are in the environments are correct. We have a challenge in our country of systems that are also dated, and therefore when you in the current environment you have a challenge, but we have been working with through the National Communication Centers to make sure that we get the systems going. That's why we've been able to recover even in some of the attacks that have come through, and we've been able to clarify that, you know, some places where it's said it's hacks, it's not hacks, actually it's internal staff members. Yeah. It's just that I'm not at liberty to say well, but yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. One of the things about this is that you need really good IT people, and really good IT people are expensive. And if I was a hacker, if I was sitting in, I don't know where these people are, the United States or Russia or Brazil or somewhere, I think there was a famous one from Brazil, I would be thinking, the South African government is never going to be able to afford the top IT people. The private sector can, but the government can't. And is that going to be a problem? Because to protect these systems, you actually need the best IT people in the country, and they don't work for government.
Yeah, you need the best IT people, but it's also a work of training and skilling them, because we've got a number of universities that are focused on ICT. So if we invest on those young people, they may not stay longer, they'll be poached, but if you continuously churn them out to be ready for the economy is going to be a data economy. So if we churn out those skills quicker, we are going to make sure you've got those skills. Let me give you an example. One of my alma maters, the University of Johannesburg, is producing IT graduates like they are producing hot cakes. Why are we not grabbing those skills for us? Why are we not preparing them? In my budget speech, I spoke about getting our intelligence academy to be a data institute, which will need those skills that are coming from a multiplicity of universities, technicons, and TVET colleges. If you recall, when I was still in communications and digital technologies, we launched the Institute of Artificial Intelligence of South Africa. That is part of building that capacity, because if these skills are more available, therefore they will not be too expensive for government to afford.
Minister, I'm just going to take a moment to look at what's happening behind us and look at, some of the way that the weather has started to clear up, and the fact that things are beginning to actually fix themselves in terms of the display that we're going to be having here later. Also, if you consider that the weather did look really, really bad earlier today and over the last few days, suddenly things are beginning to clear up. So it does look like we're going to have really some very interesting displays a little later. One of the things about your portfolio, and it was very interesting to me talking to various various experts as the President was being elected in the National Assembly. And we were talking about, which minister, which party will get what. And one professor said to me, I'll tell you one thing, the ANC will keep the State Security Agency. And that happened. What is really crucially important is that the State Security Agency does not play a political role and is able to also warn against threats. And we remember, of course, what happened in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng in 2021. Is the State Security Agency improving?
It is improving, and if you look at what we've done I've been in the portfolio, I think this is my 1 year, 5th month on the portfolio. We've started to do things that were never there. We did the National Intelligence Coordination Regulations. It has never been part of the South African architecture, though it was required by law to improve the coordination so that we can have early warning, but we can collaborate as security agencies, but also as law enforcement. We have also done the National Security Strategy, like I indicated, we're going to release it. It is also the first in the 30 years of the history of this country that you have a national security strategy, say how do we guide that and what are the things we're looking at. And also the National Intelligence Estimate, we're going to release the 2024-2025 National Intelligence Estimate that says what are the threats that are facing the country, so that as South Africans, it's not security or national security, it's not about the state security, it's about me and you as ordinary South Africans. How do we contribute? For instance, what do we do about the climate change? Because people think of climate change as not posing a national threat. It is posing a national threat. How do you do about water? It's a scarce resource. Even if you can do any other thing, bottom line is that, and we've seen it in the Western Cape, water dries up and there will not be water. It's a security threat. But also the global wars around the advancements of technology and who dominates what are those things? But we are in the townships or in our economy, we're faced with organized crime, the business forums and so forth. So we're going to release those so that we can have a conversation as a nation to say, how do we respond to that? How do we help law enforcement to deal with that? But that work was done last year, so there is an improvement. We got the GLAB that was passed by the 6th Parliament. We are waiting for the President to accent after it has gone through the necessary analysis in terms of compliance with the law, so that we can then reconfigure ourselves to be a state security agency, to be 2 departments and other entities linked to that is responsive to current threats and challenges.
Minister, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Khumbudzo Ntshavheni is the Minister in the Presidency.